What makes us human? We delude ourselves with prideful answers, claiming that we possess language, that we know how to create art and music, that we do not eat raw meat like wild beasts, but know how to cook, season our food, and appreciate beauty. We place ourselves at the top of the food chain, looking down at the anomalous creatures confined in the SCP Foundation's glass cages and calling them monsters, mindless killing machines, soulless beasts. But have you ever stopped and wondered, what if humanity isn't a divine privilege exclusive to our species? What if it is merely a skill set, a disguise that anything can put on? The SCP Foundation once thought they had successfully contained a bloodthirsty beast. They locked it in the dark, starved it, and subjected it to sensory deprivation for 10 grueling years. They believed that with a thick enough cage, a monster would remain a monster forever. They were wrong. Humanity's greatest misconception is not thinking we can cage demons. The greatest misconception is thinking that demons cannot learn. Today, we will open the file on SCP-5031, the story of something that was stripped of everything, only for it to decide to take away the very thing that defines us as human. The initial containment procedures for SCP-5031 were designed not by scientific calculation, but by pure panic. The Foundation locked it in a reinforced concrete cell, entirely windowless, without a single sliver of light allowed inside. The containment facility was isolated, and the feeding system was completely automated so that no personnel ever had to step inside. A tray of food, consisting mostly of raw chicken or livestock meat, was pushed through a small slot. No one was allowed to interact with it, and no one was allowed to make a sound. And most importantly, absolutely no one was allowed to look at it, because SCP-5031 is an optical and physical nightmare. It is a non-corporeal anomalous entity. It has no face and no fixed shape that you can describe. Its existence is tied to your blind spot. When you look directly at SCP-5031, it instantly vanishes into nothingness, becoming invisible and entirely untouchable. But the moment you blink, the moment you avert your gaze, it materializes right behind your back, a dense, pitch-black shadow hovering in mid-air. But the true terror does not lie in its invisibility. It lies in its anatomy. Reports describe SCP-5031 as possessing 6 appendages, similar to 6 arms. But they do not end in hands or fingers. The end of each appendage is a constantly shifting geometric structure, sharpened to a molecular level. They are invisible blades and scythes, waiting to swing in the dark. For many years, the Foundation believed it was a mindless killing machine. Any living creature introduced into its cell for testing was sliced into hundreds of tiny pieces in mere tenths of a second. There were no growls, no tearing of flesh, only the sound of the wind being shredded, and then a shower of blood and minced meat coating the concrete walls. 10 years. The Foundation imprisoned this thing in absolute sensory deprivation for a whole decade. They thought that by tossing raw slabs of meat into the darkness, they were feeding and controlling a monster. Little did they know, they weren't confining a beast. They were locking up a transcendent brain, a mass of primal intelligence being tortured into madness by sheer boredom. And when a new site director, Dr. Huxtable, took over and decided to change the containment approach, he thought he was bestowing mercy. He believed he could tame it by teaching it human skills, giving it toys, teaching it to play music, teaching it to cook. But he inadvertently opened Pandora's box. By teaching an apex predator how to become human, we handed it the sharpest knife with which to shed its humanity. Imagine you are the Class D personnel sent into that cell. Your task isn't to clean. Your task is to interact. The lights are completely turned off, and the darkness here isn't just an absence of light. It's dense, freezing cold, and overwhelmingly oppressive. You are strictly instructed not to turn on your flashlight, and never to look directly at anything moving in the blind spots. You roll a bowling ball into the darkness. 1 second, 2 seconds. The ball rolls back, hitting your foot. Is it playing? No. It is testing the object's reflexes, calculating trajectories, friction, and the physics of our world. The next day, the Foundation makes you bring in a piano. You stand there, holding your breath in the dark. You can't see it, but you can feel it. A massive block of shadow, hovering right in front of you. 6 appendages, bearing blades so sharp they could split molecules, are striking the keys. It isn't playing music with emotion. It is copying. It listens to human audio recordings and recreates the sound frequencies with a sickening precision, devoid of any margin of error. It is learning how we create art, learning how we express our souls. And then, the Foundation taught it how to cook. You are ordered to stand just half a meter away from it, handing it ingredients: onions, garlic, beef, and spices. You don't dare to blink, because you know if you accidentally look at it, it will turn invisible and appear right behind your neck. The mouth-watering aroma of cooked food rises, so perfect it makes your mouth water, yet your stomach violently churns in pure terror, because you realize the truth through every swoosh of the blade cutting through the air. Those razor-sharp blades glide back and forth, less than a hand's span from your throat, slicing onions so thinly they become transparent. It is not a chef. It is a butcher practicing the art of dissection. It is learning biological anatomy, learning how to separate muscle and bone, figuring out the boiling points of blood and fat. It is experimenting with organic processing, with the cold, ruthless precision of a machine. And while the researchers behind the safety glass clap and celebrate that the monster knows how to cook, you stand there, your back drenched in cold sweat, realizing that you are just an ingredient that hasn't been put on the chopping block yet. At the end of the Foundation's report is a bolded note. SCP-5031 has spoken its first word. It said, "Salt." They celebrated, assuming the project was a complete success. They believed they had enlightened a savage beast, turning a killing machine into a docile, humane, and cultured entity. The Foundation thought they had finally put SCP-5031 in its pen. But look at the bigger picture. Look at nature. Do you know what biological mimicry is? There are species of spiders that have evolved to look exactly like ants, learning to walk like ants, emitting the scent of ants, and living right inside ant colonies. They don't do this because they want to make friends with the swarm. They do it so the ants will lower their guard, allowing the spiders to leisurely devour them one by one without facing any resistance. SCP-5031 was never tamed. It executed a reverse taming. 10 years locked in the dark taught it a brutal lesson. Brute strength cannot defeat concrete walls. To defeat humanity, it cannot use violence. It must employ humanity's most powerful weapons: arrogance and blind compassion. It learned the piano, learned to cook, learned to say the word salt, not because it possessed humanity, but because it had analyzed and discovered the algorithm to manipulate the human brain. It understood that merely by mimicking these behaviors, its jailers would automatically lower their guard. They would open its cell door, bring it the finest food, provide the largest space, and cater to it like a miracle child. The Foundation didn't change its nature whatsoever. They only helped it upgrade from a wild beast banging on the door to get out, into an apex predator concealing itself within the very cultural genome of humanity. Think about it. A 6-armed entity bearing indestructible blades, capable of turning invisible the moment you look at it, now fully grasping the psychology, vulnerabilities, and societal mechanics of mankind. What is it waiting for? It hasn't killed anyone not because it doesn't want to. It hasn't killed simply because it is waiting for the moment its disguise is perfected, when the final containment door is swung wide open. And when that day comes, we will not be facing a mindless monster. We will be facing a perfect successor, an upgraded version, colder, more invisible, and ready to permanently strip away humanity's title of the superior species. We humans share an unconscious habit, one sown with the seeds of our own destruction. We love to anthropomorphize everything. When we see a dog bare its teeth, we think it's smiling. When we hear a parrot repeat the word, "hello," we smile, thinking it's communicating. We lull ourselves to sleep with the illusion that all things are born yearning to become like us, to taste the divine light of humanity. But nature has no humanity. Nature only has survival. And the universe out there is 10,000 times colder and more ruthless than nature. The SCP Foundation is raising their glasses to toast a new era, where monsters can be reformed with music and spices. They have forgotten the first rule of the food chain. The most terrifying hunter isn't the one bearing its fangs and claws. The most terrifying hunter is the one who knows how to make its prey offer themselves up willingly. Today, it learns how to cook. Tomorrow, it will learn how to cry, how to laugh, and how to show mercy. And the day after that, it will step out into the light, blending in with us so perfectly that no one will notice the difference, until those invisible blades finally swing. Tonight, as you prepare dinner, if you smell the rich aroma of sautéed onions or hear the rhythmic chopping of a knife coming from the kitchen, remember the traits of SCP-5031. It turns invisible when you look right at it, but when you avert your eyes, when you turn your back, thinking you are safe in your own home, it will materialize, a massive mass of shadow with 6 razor-sharp blades, standing right behind your neck, intensely observing and learning from your every move. So, the next time you feel a chill run down your spine, do not blink, and absolutely never turn your back on the dark corners of your home, because the thing standing there may have already learned how to smile exactly like you.